try this one simple shift and watch how the entire dynamic between you and the people around you changes forever. Seriously, watch how their posture changes when you speak, how their tone softens, how their energy tilts towards submission, even if they don't realize they're doing it. Most people walk through the world invisible. Not literally, but in every room they enter, every interaction they have, they leave no trace. They're forgettable. Their presence? Weak. Their voice? Shaky. Their energy? Passive. You might think the world is fair, that being nice, polite, or just being yourself is enough. But it's not. The world doesn't reward neutrality. It doesn't reward quietness. The world is structured by dominance, by power, whether you like it or not. Picture this. You walk into a room. You feel small. You say something, people nod politely, then move on. Your ideas don't land. You talk and people talk over you. You raise your hand and somehow no one seems to hear you. And even when you do everything right, when you dress well, speak clearly, stay polite, they still don't take you seriously. You walk away thinking, why does this always happen to me? What am I doing wrong? The answer isn't that you're not smart enough or good enough. It's that you don't command attention. And without attention you'll never have power. But now imagine the opposite. Imagine walking into a room and immediately, everything shifts. Heads turn. Conversations pause. Even people who don't know you sense it. They look at you not with suspicion or annoyance, but with curiosity, with respect. You haven't even said a word yet, but something about the way you carry yourself forces them to take you seriously. It's not charisma. It's not arrogance. It's not pretending to be someone you're not. It's something much simpler, much more primal, and once you learn it, you can never unsee it. One shift. One change. That's all it takes. Here's the cold reality. Society respects strength. Not kindness. Not softness. Not trying your best. Strength. People can pretend they value vulnerability and openness, and in close relationships they might. But in the hierarchy of social dynamics, in work, in school, in dating, in networking, in group dynamics, people instinctively look for one thing. Who is the leader? Who sets the tone? Who controls the pace? And if you don't project power, you will be treated as beneath them. That's not cruelty. That's just how human psychology works. And unless you learn how to work with that psychology, unless you learn how to manipulate it, it will work against you. Right now, without knowing it, you're being judged. Every room you walk into, every conversation you enter, you are being assessed. Scanned. Sized up. People are placing you into mental boxes based on how you walk, how you talk, how fast you speak, how you use your eyes, how you hold your phone, how you sit down, how you react to silence. And here's the worst part. Most of this happens before you even speak. Within seconds. Before you explain yourself. Before they hear your credentials. Before you get to tell your story. That first impression, built entirely on body language, vocal tone, and energy, is the difference between being respected or dismissed. Between being followed or ignored. Think about how unfair that is. You could be more skilled than them. More qualified. More hardworking. But if your presence is weak, they won't care. And no amount of over-explaining or proving yourself will change that. Because once they've put you in the low-status box, it's nearly impossible to escape. Their brain has made the decision. You're not someone to follow. You're not someone to trust. You're not someone they need to pay attention to. And the worst part? You didn't even realize it was happening. But what if you could flip that? What if, in the same exact room with the same exact people, you could walk in and instantly feel the tide shift? What if you could walk in and own the space without even speaking? That's not a fantasy. That's what happens when you understand how dominance really works. And the first lesson, the foundation, is this. People don't respect words. They respect energy. You can say all the right things, but if you say them with shaky energy, you lose. You can speak facts, give evidence, argue brilliantly, but if your posture is apologetic, your voice is insecure, your presence is passive, no one listens. Because humans don't respond to logic first. They respond to dominance cues. Instinctive signals of power. And here's the secret you were never taught. Power isn't loud. Power isn't aggressive. Power isn't showy. It's quiet. Still. It's slow. Real power makes other people adjust themselves. It makes them lean in, hesitate, second guess. Not because you yelled. Not because you showed off. But because you carry yourself like someone who does not need approval. Someone who already knows they are in control. That is the power shift. That's what we're going to unlock step by step in this series. So if you're tired of being ignored, tired of being overlooked, tired of fading into the background, this is for you. because we're going to break down exactly how to rebuild your presence, flip the social script, and take back control. No fluff. No gimmicks. Just raw, real behavioral psychology. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to master the unspoken rules of power and presence, make sure to subscribe to this channel right now, because this is just the beginning. What's coming next will change the way you walk into every room for the rest of your life. Let's begin. Let's peel back the layers a little further. You now know the problem. Most people live their lives in a state of low-status behavior without even realizing it. They think they're just being normal, but what they're actually doing is constantly signaling weakness. And remember, weakness doesn't mean being soft-spoken or gentle. Weakness means behaving in a way that tells other people, I don't believe I belong at the top. And once they sense that, even subconsciously, they will place you beneath them. Now, here's the truth that separates the powerful from the invisible. Human beings operate in silent hierarchies. These hierarchies exist in every context. In business meetings, someone is the dominant presence. In classrooms, someone leads the energy. In friend groups, there's always a quiet leader. Even in relationships, romantic, family, professional, someone usually holds more psychological control than the other. And it all happens without anyone openly discussing it. No one says, you're in charge and I'm not. It just happens. Through behavior. Through tone. Through rhythm. Through presence. This is why you can have two people walk into the same room, say the same sentence, and be treated completely differently. One gets ignored. The other gets attention. One fades. The other commands. The difference? Not the words. Not the outfit. Not the smile. It's the way they carry themselves, especially in the first 5 seconds. So let's break down what those 5 seconds actually communicate. When you enter a space, people instantly pick up on your body tension. Are your shoulders tight? Are you walking quickly like you're afraid to be noticed? Are your eyes darting? Are your hands fidgeting? These are signals of submissiveness, and they matter way more than you think. In the animal kingdom, submission is communicated physically, lowered posture, avoidance of eye contact, quick movements, even vocal pitch. And humans still operate on those instincts. If you signal submission physically, people will not consciously say, this person is weak, but they will treat you accordingly. And don't make the mistake of trying to compensate by acting fake. People can sniff out forced confidence instantly. They can feel when you're overcorrecting, trying too hard, puffing your chest out just to prove something. That's not power either, that's insecurity disguised as arrogance. Real power? It's quiet. It doesn't try. It just is. You know it when you see it. A leader doesn't need to declare they're the leader. A powerful man doesn't need to brag. A confident person doesn't need validation. Which brings us to the single most underused weapon in social dynamics, stillness. Stillness is not laziness. Stillness is not inaction. Stillness is the body language of control. When someone is still, calm, composed, unbothered, they are signaling to the entire room, I'm not threatened. I'm not nervous. I'm not chasing anything. And that creates a shockwave of psychological impact. People notice. People feel it. Even if they don't know why. Because when someone is still, it triggers an ancient recognition mechanism in the human brain. This person is higher status. Why? Because low-status people rush. They fidget. They scramble. They try to earn approval. They chase attention. High-status people don't. They wait. They observe. They absorb. They speak only when it's time. They use silence as leverage. And that makes everyone else react to them. Let's talk about one of the most powerful examples of this. The pause. The pause is the most underestimated form of power in any interaction. When someone asks you a question, what do you do? Most people rush to fill the silence. They answer immediately. They stumble, babble, or soften their voice to sound agreeable. Why? Because they are afraid of dead air. They want to be liked. They want to be quick. They think efficiency will earn them points. Wrong. Here's what you do instead. Pause. Let the silence stretch just 2 or 3 seconds. Hold eye contact. Let them wait. Let them feel the stillness. Don't break. Don't twitch. Don't look down. And when you finally speak, speak slowly. Speak clearly. Speak as if every word matters. And watch what happens. Their body language will shift. They'll sit up straighter. They'll lean forward. Their eyes will lock in. They'll begin to respect you, not because of what you said, but because of how you made them wait to hear it. That's the pause. And it's a psychological weapon. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding how human beings are wired. When you pause before speaking, you send a signal: I don't need to impress you. I don't need to rush. I'm comfortable holding control of the space. And that is magnetic. That is rare. That is powerful. Let me show you how this applies in a real-world situation. Imagine you're being interviewed for a job. You walk in, and the hiring manager says, "Tell me about yourself." Most candidates launch into a pre-rehearsed monologue, trying to hit all the right points, smiling nervously, eyes darting. But not you. You pause. You breathe. You hold eye contact. And then you begin, slow, deliberate, calm. Instantly, the manager thinks, this person isn't desperate. And that makes them want to hear more. Or picture this in a dating scenario. You're on a first date. The person across from you says, "So, what do you do?" Most people answer quickly, fill the space with fluff, trying to impress. But not you. You pause. You hold their gaze. Then you speak. With weight. With gravity. With presence. And they feel it. They can't explain why, but suddenly, you're different. More attractive. More mysterious. More in control. That's the magic of the pause. That's the beginning of flipping the power dynamic. And the best part? Anyone can do it. You don't need to be rich, famous, or naturally charismatic. You just need to practice. Start in your everyday life. When someone asks you a question, don't answer immediately. Count to 2. Hold eye contact. Then speak. You'll feel the shift. And once you do, you'll realize, you've been giving away your power your entire life without knowing it. This is just the beginning. In the next section, we'll go deeper into how you can apply these dominance cues to every interaction. Work, dating, networking, public speaking, and completely transform how people perceive and treat you. But for now, remember this: power isn't loud. It's quiet. It's still. It's deliberate. And the moment you master that stillness, the world will start to treat you differently. Instantly. Ready to go deeper? Let's move on. Now that you understand the fundamental power of stillness and the pause, it's time to sharpen the lens even more. Let's go deeper into why this works, why people react so strongly to it, and how it connects to some of the most primal, hardwired rules of human behavior. Because once you understand the psychology behind it, you won't just be practicing these techniques, you'll be wielding them like a weapon. Intentionally. Strategically. Effectively. Let's start with a brutal truth: we are not rational beings. We're emotional. Instinctive. Pattern-seeking animals. We make snap judgments, not based on facts or logic, but based on energy, tone, and body language. The human brain evolved to read threats and power dynamics instantly. It had to. Back in primitive times, if you didn't know who the alpha was in your tribe, or if you couldn't read who posed a danger, you didn't survive. That same brain is still operating today, even if we're no longer fighting for food or avoiding predators in the jungle. Here's what that means. In every social interaction, your brain is subconsciously asking a question: who's in control? And if it doesn't detect signs of dominance, it categorizes you accordingly. That's what happens in those first few seconds when you enter a room. Before anyone consciously evaluates you, their subconscious already has. They've already decided whether to respect you, follow you, ignore you, or challenge you. You don't even get to vote. Now, how does the brain make that decision so fast? Through nonverbal cues. And the most powerful of those? Tempo. Space. Energy. The person who rushes to speak, who fidgets, who avoids silence, is perceived as less dominant. Not because people are being cruel, but because, evolutionarily, those behaviors are associated with submission, insecurity, and low social value. On the other hand, the person who pauses, who speaks slowly, who takes up space with confidence, they're interpreted as someone with higher value. Why? Because they signal that they are not afraid. They don't need to fill the silence. They don't need your approval. They are in control of themselves, and therefore, they appear capable of controlling others. Think about how powerful that is. By simply slowing down, by pausing, by refusing to rush, you are triggering thousands of years of evolutionary programming in the people around you. You are making their brain feel like you're the leader. And once that shift happens, the way they treat you changes instantly. This is why fast talkers are often dismissed, even when they are brilliant. It's not about content, it's about delivery. Fast talkers come across as nervous, unsure, insecure. Slow, deliberate speakers signal intelligence, confidence, and control. This doesn't mean you need to speak like a robot. It means every sentence should feel intentional, like it matters, like you matter. Here's something you've probably never considered. Speed equals desperation. People who rush to talk, rush to answer, rush to impress. They're telling the world, please don't ignore me. And the world listens. It hears that desperation. And it responds accordingly, by tuning you out. But if you slow down, if you pause, you flip that script. You send a new signal. I'm not desperate. I'm in control. I'm worth listening to. And the world adjusts. Now let's talk about how this plays out in power structures. High-status individuals across history, CEOs, presidents, military generals, even fictional characters in film, all operate with the same behavioral code. They don't chase attention. They command it. They don't rush to fill the silence. They own the silence. Think of someone like Barack Obama. Every word is measured. Every pause is intentional. Or think of someone like Vito Corleone in The Godfather, calm, soft-spoken, slow. Not because he's weak, but because he doesn't need to be loud. That's the code. That's the behavior of someone who understands how power works. Here's the key: power doesn't chase. Power attracts. And the way you attract is by making people lean in. The pause is what creates that effect. When you're in conversation and you take a moment to pause before speaking, people instinctively tune in more closely. Why? Because silence creates tension. And humans hate unresolved tension. That moment of silence makes your next words feel more important. It's like punctuation in music. The silence makes the note. And here's the really crazy part. Once you start using this, you'll begin to notice how rare it is. Almost nobody does it. That's why it's so powerful. You'll start to see how most people talk over each other, rush through their thoughts, stumble over their words trying to explain themselves, and you'll realize they're broadcasting insecurity. Loudly. Constantly. And most of them don't even know it. Now here's the next level, combining the pause with eye contact. This is where the game truly changes. When you pause and hold eye contact, you are essentially holding psychological dominance in real time. You're saying without words, I am here. I am in control. I don't need your approval. But you're going to give it to me anyway. This doesn't mean staring aggressively. That's intimidation. You're not trying to dominate people through fear. You're simply refusing to look away. You're signaling comfort in the silence. Comfort in the stillness. And when you do that, when your body says, I'm good with this moment, everyone else will start to adjust to you. Their energy will shift. Their pace will sync to yours. Because now you've taken the lead in the unspoken dance of dominance. This is not just theory. This is backed by research in behavioral psychology, evolutionary biology, and communication science. Study after study has shown that people perceive speakers who pause more often and speak slowly as more intelligent, more trustworthy, and more powerful. And this happens even if the content is identical. That's how deeply embedded these signals are in the human brain. And if you're still thinking, well, I'm just not naturally like that, good. That means you're about to grow. Because this isn't about personality. It's about practice. It's about awareness. It's about learning the rules that no one ever taught you. Rules that can completely rewrite how you're treated in every part of your life. So here's your challenge. The next time you're in a conversation, pick one moment, just one, where you would normally answer quickly. Instead, pause. 2 seconds. Hold the gaze. Let the silence breathe. Then speak. Low, calm, deliberate. That single moment will feel different. You'll feel the power. And so will they. In the next section, we'll explore how these principles can be layered with other nonverbal signals, posture, voice tonality, spatial presence, to create a full aura of unshakable authority. But for now, remember this: power isn't about saying more. It's about owning every moment you speak. And that begins with the pause. Now that you've started to grasp the transformative power of silence and the pause, let's zoom out. Because while the pause is a high-leverage move on its own, it's even more powerful when stacked with other behaviors, specifically nonverbal dominant signals. These are cues you send through posture, movement, spatial control, and vocal tonality. The way you use your body and your voice tells the world whether you're leading or following, even before you open your mouth. So let's break those down. Let's start with posture, arguably the most instantly recognizable marker of status. Think of how a powerful person stands. Do they slouch? Do they fold into themselves? Do they hunch over, trying to make themselves smaller? Absolutely not. They expand. They occupy space. Their spine is tall, their shoulders are back, their chest is open. This isn't just about looking good, it's about projecting strength. A straight, solid posture subconsciously communicates, I'm confident. I'm grounded. I'm not afraid. And the science backs this up. Harvard psychologist Amy Cuddy's research into power posing revealed that open, expansive posture not only changes how others see you, it also changes how you feel about yourself. Holding a confident posture for just 2 minutes can increase testosterone levels, associated with confidence and assertiveness, and decrease cortisol levels, associated with stress and anxiety. So, when you carry yourself like someone who's in control, you don't just look more powerful, you actually become more powerful internally. But posture is just the beginning. Let's move to movement. One of the most overlooked indicators of high status is how you move. High-status individuals move slowly, deliberately, economically. They don't fidget. They don't pace. They don't make small, jittery movements that betray nervous energy. They're composed. Their movements are purposeful, calculated. When they reach for something, they do it with full control. When they walk into a room, they don't rush. They glide. Their presence speaks before they do. Why does this matter? Because again, your nervous system is constantly reading other people's energy, and so is everyone else's. Fast, erratic movements signal anxiety. Slow, grounded movements signal confidence and dominance. That's why great speakers and leaders often have a calm, almost still presence. You're not just watching them, you're drawn to them. Because your brain interprets their stillness as power. Now let's talk about space. Physical space is a huge part of perceived dominance. High-status individuals don't shrink themselves. They don't pull inward or tuck their arms close like they're afraid of taking up too much room. They sit and stand like they belong. Like they own the environment. Think about a CEO sitting at the head of a boardroom table. Do they cross their arms and fold into their seat? No, they spread out. They control the space around them. And people respect that. This even applies to where you stand in a room. People naturally give more attention and respect to those who position themselves at the center of activity. Don't cling to the corners or walls. Don't try to stay out of the way. Be seen. When you walk into a room, walk through the middle. When you sit down, sit with intention. When you speak, own the space around you. These small shifts signal to everyone around you, I'm not here to hide. I belong here. Now, let's bring in vocal tonality, a make-or-break factor in dominance communication. Most people speak with what's called upspeak. That means their sentences rise in pitch toward the end, like they're asking a question even when making a statement. This is a subconscious plea for validation. It tells people, please agree with me. Please like me. And guess what? It kills your credibility. Dominant speakers do the opposite. They end their sentences on a downward inflection. Their tone drops, not rises, at the end. It sounds subtle, but it creates a massive difference in perception. Downward inflection signals authority. It tells people, I'm not seeking your approval. I'm stating a fact. Combine that with slow pacing, and your words take on a weight that most people never achieve. There's also volume control. High-status people don't shout to be heard. They speak clearly and firmly, but never too loudly. Shouting signals a lack of control. Whispering signals fear. But a calm, full voice that carries just enough? That's power. You don't need to dominate with volume. You dominate with presence. Let's pause here and stack what we've learned so far. You've got posture, tall, open, grounded. Movement, slow, deliberate, controlled. Space, taken confidently, not apologized for. Voice, downward inflection, steady pace, clear tone. Each of these alone can shift perception. Together they create a force field of respect. People might not even know why they feel it, but they do. And that's the point. Power isn't just what you say. It's how you exist. Now, combine all of this with the pause, the technique we introduced earlier. Imagine the impact. You walk into a room with tall posture. You move slowly. You take a central position. You hold eye contact. Someone speaks to you, you pause. You don't rush to respond. You let silence work for you. Then, when you finally speak, your voice is calm, your tone is grounded, your words land with weight. That, right there, is how power is felt, before it's even spoken. And again, this isn't about faking it. You're not pretending to be someone you're not. You're revealing the version of you that's been buried under years of social conditioning. The version of you that doesn't shrink. That doesn't seek constant approval. That walks into any room like you belong, and makes everyone else believe it too. These techniques are not tricks. They're skills. They're habits. And the more you practice them, the more natural they become. Eventually, you won't have to think about your posture, your pause, your pace. It'll just be who you are. And people will respond to you differently without you saying a word. In the next section, we'll look at real-world scenarios where these techniques apply, interviews, dates, negotiations, group conversations, and show you exactly how to use them in context. You'll see how even subtle shifts in behavior can cause massive changes in how people treat you. But for now, reflect on this. Power isn't just a mindset. It's a full body language. And when your body speaks power, your world listens. Now let's take everything we've learned so far, posture, movement, voice, pause, space, and apply it to real-world situations. Because theory is great, but transformation happens in the doing. The fastest way to rewire your habits is to practice them under pressure. So we're going to break down 4 everyday environments where dominance cues determine how people treat you. These are scenarios you've already been in, maybe hundreds of times, and probably never realized how your behavior was giving away your power without a word. Let's begin with one of the most high-stakes situations, job interviews. Most people walk into interviews already mentally defeated. They enter with the mindset of "I hope they like me," which leads to rushed speech, weak posture, and a complete surrender of the frame. Here's how that typically plays out. You walk into the waiting room sitting nervously, scrolling through your phone to avoid looking around. Your name gets called, you jump up, shake hands too eagerly, smile too much, and start babbling the moment they ask a question. Sound familiar? It's what nearly everyone does. But now you know better. Imagine instead you walk in slow and calm. Shoulders back, chest open. You don't rush to speak. You take your seat with confidence, not arrogance but calm certainty. When they ask, "So, tell me about yourself," you pause. 2 full seconds. You hold their gaze. Then you speak, low, slow, grounded. You don't rush to cram your resume into a monologue. You own the silence. You answer like someone who belongs. That's what they remember. That's the energy they want on their team, not the person who over-explains and begs for approval, but the one who communicates, "I don't need this job, I'm here to see if this is a fit for both of us." Now let's move to another common setting. First impressions in group conversations. This might be a social event, a networking mixer, a family gathering, or even a team meeting at work. Watch what happens when people introduce themselves. Most of them shrink. They lean forward, they speak too fast, they chuckle nervously after saying their name. And again, they're broadcasting low status, often without even realizing it. Instead, you walk in and observe first. You don't try to dominate the conversation immediately. You stand tall, scan the room, keep your hands still, and breathe. When someone speaks to you directly, you pause before answering. You nod slowly. Your body language says, "I am fully present, and I'm not here to impress anyone." That's rare. That's attractive. And it flips the dynamic without a single flashy move. The third scenario is negotiation. Whether it's about salary, business terms, a refund, or just making a case for your preferences in daily life, this is where most people fold. The second there's tension, they speak faster. They fill silence with apologies or over-justifications. They try to win by being agreeable. But in a real negotiation, the one who controls the tempo controls the outcome. When someone presents you with an offer, don't react. Don't nod. Don't rush. You pause. You look at them. You maybe tilt your head slightly, still silent. You let them sit in that space. It's uncomfortable, for them. But it signals that you are not afraid. And in most cases, that silence alone will make them start adjusting their offer, softening their tone, or justifying their own position. Why? Because most people can't handle silence. If you can, you already have the upper hand. Here's a tip used by expert negotiators. When someone finishes talking, wait a full beat before you respond. Not a fake delay, just a calm, confident pause. Often, the other person will continue talking to fill the space, and they'll reveal more information or backtrack on something they just said. That's how powerful stillness is. It makes the other side uncomfortable enough to reveal their cards. Now let's take it somewhere more personal, dating and attraction. This is where these techniques become not just useful, but magnetic. So many people think attraction is about looks or charm. It's not. It's about how you carry yourself. The most attractive people aren't necessarily the best looking or the most outgoing. They're the ones who radiate confidence without trying. They're the ones who listen more than they speak, who don't overshare, who use pauses intentionally and make others work just a little harder for their attention. In early conversation, for example, most people try to be interesting. They rush to tell stories, make jokes, and keep the energy high. But real attraction is built in the space between those moments. When you respond slowly. When you let silence hang for a second. When you look someone in the eyes and wait before speaking. That tension is what creates intrigue. And most people are so uncomfortable with silence that they'll lean forward to close the gap, to chase your attention instead of you chasing theirs. Let's go even deeper. When you pause before speaking in a romantic conversation, it signals emotional control. It says, I'm not impulsive. I'm not reactive. I'm selective. That makes people feel like your approval means something. You're not easy to impress, and that makes you more impressive. The less you try to be liked, the more people are drawn in. Here's an exercise. The next time someone you're attracted to asks you a question, pause for a full 2 seconds. Don't look away. Don't fidget. Don't smile nervously. Just wait. Then speak. Calmly. Smoothly. Like you already know your words have value. And watch their body language. Watch them lean in. Watch their energy shift. That's not arrogance, it's control. And it's one of the most attractive things on earth. Now, let's tie this all together. The same principle, dominance through calm, controlled presence, applies across every social setting. Whether you're in a boardroom or a cafe, on a stage or a date, your energy speaks before your words ever do. And the person who can maintain calm while others panic, who can embrace silence while others rush to fill it, that person controls the room. So here's your homework. Pick one situation this week where you would normally rush. Maybe it's answering a question, introducing yourself, or responding in a disagreement. And instead, pause. Let the moment breathe. Then respond with clarity. With weight. With authority. You'll feel the difference immediately. And so will everyone else. In the next section, we'll explore the internal changes that begin to happen as you practice these behaviors, how your mind adapts, how your confidence recalibrates, and how people start treating you like a completely different person. But for now, remember this: presence isn't what you do. It's what you don't do. You don't rush. You don't chase. You don't shrink. And in doing less, you become more. Now that we've explored how these behaviors work in external environments, interviews, group dynamics, negotiations, dating, it's time to go inward. Because something remarkable happens when you consistently practice presence, pause, and stillness. Your internal world begins to shift. This isn't just about how others treat you anymore. It's about how you begin to see yourself. Most people go through life chasing external validation. They want to be liked. They want approval. They want permission to be confident. So they perform. They overtalk. They explain themselves constantly. They apologize when no apology is needed. They second guess. They overcorrect. And underneath all of it is one belief: I'm not enough as I am. But here's what they don't realize: that constant reaching, that constant performing, it doesn't just affect how others perceive you. It corrodes your self-respect. Every time you shrink, every time you rush to fill silence, every time you speak before you're ready just to be accepted, you're reinforcing to yourself, I'm not in control. And that pattern becomes your identity. You start to see yourself as someone who's always one step behind. Someone who doesn't lead conversations. Someone who has to earn attention, not command it. And over time, your confidence, your real, rooted confidence, erodes. But when you start to practice the pause, when you begin moving with intention, when you speak slowly and make eye contact and own the space you're in, something clicks. Something recalibrates. You stop needing permission. You stop seeking validation. And you begin to believe, not just intellectually, but viscerally, that you deserve to be heard. And that belief? It's a game changer. Let's break it down. Your mind is constantly forming loops between how you act and what you believe. If you act like someone who's unsure, your brain reinforces that identity: I must be unsure. But if you act like someone in control, someone calm, confident, measured, your brain follows. It says, oh, this must be who I am now. That's how identity gets rewritten, not through affirmations or motivational posters, but through repetition of action. This is called embodied cognition. It's a psychological concept that explains how our posture, tone, and behaviors literally shape our thoughts and emotions. It's not just fake it till you make it. It's deeper than that. It's act the way you want to feel, and your feelings will align over time. So when you stand tall, move slowly, pause before speaking, and maintain eye contact, you're not pretending. You're practicing a new standard for yourself. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes, not because you forced it, but because your identity begins to shift to match your behavior. Let's look at an example. Imagine someone who's always seen themselves as the quiet one. They avoid confrontation, they downplay their ideas, they rarely speak up in group settings. That's their story. That's the identity they've accepted. But then one day, they learn about the pause. They try it. Just once. In a meeting, someone asks their opinion, and instead of rushing, they pause. They speak slowly. Everyone listens. It feels strange at first, but powerful. They do it again the next day, and again the day after that. A week later, someone compliments their confidence. 2 weeks later, their manager asks them to lead a project. 3 weeks later, they feel different when they walk into a room. That's not an accident. That's identity transformation. And it all started with behavior. Here's another piece of the puzzle: emotional regulation. Most people who rush to speak or overtalk are not just insecure, they are anxious. They're uncomfortable with uncertainty. Silence feels threatening. Stillness feels dangerous. Their nervous system interprets pauses as social risk. So they talk to stay safe, to feel in control. But ironically, that need for control is what makes them lose it. When you learn to pause, even when you feel nervous, you're training your body to tolerate power. You're building emotional endurance. You're telling your nervous system, it's okay. I'm safe. I don't need to rush. And that creates a deep, internal sense of calm that other people can feel. You become the anchor in chaotic situations. The calm in the storm. The one people look to, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it through presence. Think about the people you admire most. The ones who walk into a room and change the energy. The ones whose opinion carries weight, even if they speak last. What do they all have in common? They're grounded, centered, calm. They don't rush. They don't chase. They don't fidget. They own themselves. And because of that, they naturally influence others. That's not charisma. That's inner alignment. And it's available to anyone who's willing to practice. But here's the warning: this isn't a one-time fix. You don't watch one video, try the pause once, and suddenly become a different person. This is training. Just like building a muscle, building presence takes repetition. At first it feels awkward. You might forget. You might slip. That's okay. What matters is that you keep coming back. Each time you catch yourself rushing and instead choose stillness, you're reinforcing the new identity. And slowly the old story, I'm invisible, I'm not confident, I don't belong, starts to fade. It gets replaced by something stronger, something truer. A new internal voice begins to rise. I lead. I hold space. I control the pace. And when that belief settles in, that's when the external world shifts permanently. You'll notice people treat you differently. They defer to you. They listen more closely. They wait for your input. You'll get more respect without demanding it. You'll get more attention without chasing it. And opportunities, relationships, promotions, invitations, they'll start showing up more often, simply because your energy now communicates, I am someone of value. In the next section, we're going to explore the unspoken status games happening all around you, how people subconsciously rank each other in real time, and how you can use the cues you've learned to always come out on top. But for now, remember, your identity is not fixed. It's a story. And the fastest way to rewrite that story is to act as if you already are who you want to become. Not someday. Not eventually. But now. One pause at a time. You've now laid the foundation: presence, posture, pace, stillness, identity. But there's a layer beneath all of that, one most people never even realize exists. The unspoken status games happening in every interaction. These games are invisible, unregulated, and almost entirely unconscious, but they control everything. Who leads? Who follows? Who gets the job? Who gets the date? Who gets cut off in conversation? Who gets heard? And who gets ignored? And here's the harsh reality. Most people are losing these games without ever knowing they're playing. Let me explain. Every time you interact with another person, a subtle negotiation begins. Who's higher status? Who has more value? Who is the dominant energy and who is the reactive one? This happens fast, within seconds, and it determines how the rest of the interaction will go. It's not a conscious battle. It's not a debate. It's a calibration of energy. The cues that decide who leads and who follows are deeply primal. Body language, voice tone, facial expressions, eye contact, space, stillness. Whoever broadcasts more control wins. Period. These dynamics are happening constantly, in classrooms, meetings, parties, friendships, family dinners. The moment you open your mouth or take a seat, people are scanning you not with judgment but with instinct. Their subconscious asks, do I need to listen to this person? Do I defer to them? Do I dismiss them? And how you carry yourself answers that question before you even speak. Let's make this practical. Walk into a room of 5 people already talking. Do you scan nervously and look for a safe place to sit? Hover at the edge hoping someone acknowledges you? Rush to interrupt with something to say? If you do any of these things, the room feels your uncertainty. It's not about being rude or polite, it's about energy. High-status individuals don't try to fit in. They make the room adjust to them. That's the status game in motion. Now flip the scenario. You walk into that same room. You move slowly. You make eye contact with 2 people. You choose a seat with calm authority. You don't rush to speak. You listen. You let the group feel your presence before you add anything. That sends a completely different signal. I'm not desperate to be included. I already belong. That, right there, puts you at the top of the invisible social ladder, without saying a word. Let's take it further. Status games and conversation. When 2 people talk, there's always a dominant and a submissive energy, even if they're friends, even if they're equals on paper. The dominant person sets the pace of the conversation, controls the topic flow, interrupts without being interrupted, holds longer silences, speaks with downward tone and steady rhythm. The submissive person speeds up when the dominant person talks, laughs nervously or seeks validation mid-sentence, apologizes frequently, lets their statements turn into questions, fills every silence to avoid discomfort. Here's the secret. You don't need to win these games by overpowering people. That's insecurity in disguise. The most powerful individuals don't chase control, they radiate it. And because of that, control comes to them. Watch any high-level negotiation or elite performer. They're not emotionally reactive. They don't flinch. They don't jump to fill space. They wait. They observe. And the room slowly rotates around them. And when you know what to look for, you can see it happening. Now let's talk about how to use this in day-to-day interactions. You're at a table of 4. You've got something important to say. Don't rush in. Wait for the right beat. Make eye contact with the person you're addressing. Take a calm breath. Speak slowly, evenly, then pause. Watch what happens. The table adjusts. People stop. They listen. Because the energy you brought into that space said, what I'm about to say matters. And so it does. That's how unspoken status works. It's not about being the loudest or most opinionated. It's about commanding attention without needing to demand it. There's a huge difference. You may have also noticed that certain people get interrupted constantly while others seem to hold the floor with ease. That's not luck. That's energy dominance. People who pause, maintain eye contact, and speak with control train others to respect their turn. People who rush, trail off, and speak too softly invite interruption. And over time, these patterns become identity. The person who's always interrupted becomes the one no one listens to. The person who holds the room becomes the leader. And again, it's not about superiority. It's about how you present yourself. Because people don't respond to who you are. They respond to what you project. Even physical spacing is a status game. Ever notice how high-status people don't rush to fill empty seats at the edge of the room? They walk through the center. They take the table with the most visibility. They don't ask, is this seat taken? They claim space without apology. That's not rudeness. That's psychological dominance. And the beauty is, you don't need to be rich, famous, or an extrovert to embody this. You just need to be aware. Once you understand the game, you start playing it with intention. Here's a powerful practice. Next time you're in a group setting, don't speak for the first few minutes. Just observe. Watch who holds attention and how. Watch who interrupts and who backs down. Watch the energy shifts. Then when you do speak, enter slowly. Take space. Use your pause. Say less. And let your presence do the work. You'll feel the difference immediately. And more importantly, you'll notice others feeling it too. In the next section, we'll reveal the 3 biggest mistakes people make when trying to implement presence and power, and how to avoid falling into those traps. But for now, remember this. There is a status game happening in every room you enter. And whether you like it or not, you're playing. The only question is, are you playing consciously, or unconsciously losing? The choice as always is yours. You've come a long way. You've learned how presence works. You understand the power of the pause, posture, tone, movement, and energy. You know that status isn't just a social label. It's a lived, moment-by-moment reality based on how you show up. But now it's time to address something critical, the mistakes. Because as with anything powerful, there's a fine line between mastery and misapplication. A small misstep, even with good intentions, can send the wrong signal and cancel out everything you've built. There are three major mistakes people make when trying to build presence and command respect. These mistakes are subtle but they're deadly. Let's go through each one in detail so you can avoid them completely. Mistake number 1. Confusing stillness with stiffness. The goal of stillness is to project calm control, not robotic awkwardness. Many people here don't fidget, move slowly, pause, and they take it too literally. They freeze. Their face goes blank. Their arms become rigid. They overthink every gesture. They look like they're trying not to move, like they're suppressing something. And guess what? That doesn't read as power. It reads as fear, as discomfort, as someone trying to perform an idea of confidence rather than truly owning it. True stillness is fluid. It's not about locking up your body, it's about eliminating unnecessary movement. It's relaxed, open, and grounded. A powerful person doesn't tense up. They breathe. They let silence stretch naturally. They move when it makes sense, and when they do, the movement has purpose. That's what makes them captivating. So how do you avoid this trap? Start with the breath. Deep, slow breathing is the foundation of real stillness. If you're breathing shallowly or holding your breath while trying to be calm, your body will tighten. Your voice will lose depth. Your energy will feel forced. But if your breath is full and slow, your stillness becomes magnetic, not mechanical. Also, use micro-movements. Subtle nods, slight hand gestures, relaxed facial expressions. These show that you're engaged, present, and confident. The goal isn't zero motion. The goal is deliberate motion. Movements that support your message instead of distract from it. Mistake number 2. Mistaking dominance for aggression. This is probably the most common and most damaging error. Once people learn about status dynamics and presence, they sometimes try to force dominance. They interrupt people unnecessarily. They speak in harsh tones. They become overly blunt. They try to win every conversation. Why? Because they think dominance is about overpowering others. It's not. Real dominance is calm. It's not loud. It's not aggressive. It's not theatrical. It doesn't seek conflict. It avoids it unless necessary. The most powerful people are often the least reactive. They don't need to assert control every 5 seconds. They control themselves, and because of that, they end up controlling the room. If you start walking around like you're the alpha, talking over people, ignoring input, or trying to intimidate others with eye contact or posture, you're not gaining status. You're bleeding it. People don't respect that energy. They either avoid it or feel forced to challenge it. Either way, you lose. So how do you show strength without becoming a jerk? You stay grounded. You listen deeply. You speak sparingly, but when you do, you speak with precision. You make others feel safe, but never above you. You create space for others to express themselves, but you never chase their approval. That balance, that tension, is what creates real authority. Remember, leadership isn't about being above people. It's about being in command of yourself so deeply that others naturally want to follow. Mistake number 3. Thinking presence is a one-time trick. This one is subtle but deadly. You watch a video. You learn about the pause. You use it once and it works. Someone leans in. You feel the shift. Boom. You think, I got it. But then you stop. You go back to your usual patterns. Why? Because you treated presence like a magic trick instead of a discipline. Presence is not a gimmick. It's not a party trick. It's a practice. You don't become powerful from using the pause once. You become powerful by making the pause your default. You don't become respected from holding eye contact in one conversation. You become respected because you've trained yourself to stay grounded in every interaction. Repetition is everything. This is where most people fall off. They try it for a week, maybe even a month. But then life gets busy. The pressure comes back. Old habits sneak in. They forget. They return to rushing, fidgeting, filling silences, and they wonder why people stop treating them with the same level of respect. The truth is, this work never ends. And that's a good thing. Because every day is a chance to deepen your presence. To recenter. To show up with more calm, more clarity, more control. Every conversation is a new opportunity to reinforce your identity as someone who leads the energy in the room, not someone who follows it. So here's how to stay consistent. Set a trigger. Choose one situation you encounter daily, like answering a question, entering a room, or being interrupted. Make that your cue to pause, breathe, and slow down. Track the wins. Notice how people react differently when you hold space. Journal it. Anchor those experiences so your brain starts to see this behavior as your new normal. Correct gently. When you catch yourself rushing or shrinking, don't judge yourself. Just course correct. The more you do this, the faster your nervous system adapts. The goal isn't perfection. It's alignment. You want your behavior to match your worth, your presence to match your potential, your energy to match your mission. Because make no mistake, people are watching. They're reading you. Every pause, every breath, every glance, it's telling them a story about who you are. And the question is, are you the one writing that story, or are you letting old habits write it for you? In the next section, we're going to explore how these behaviors affect group dynamics, how to lead in silence, how to become the invisible anchor in any environment, and how true leaders use nonverbal dominance to influence entire rooms without ever needing to raise their voice. But for now, remember, power is not about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself. And the ones who master themselves win every game. You've now built a solid understanding of presence on the individual level, how to walk into a room, hold space in one-on-one conversations, and manage your energy with confidence and control. But what happens when you step into a group setting? When you're not just influencing one person but 5, 10, 20? This is where the stakes rise, and where real leaders are either revealed or forgotten. Because in a group, energy multiplies. Hierarchies form fast. And the moment you walk into that space, a silent negotiation begins. Who leads this group? Who holds the floor? Who do we follow? And here's the most surprising truth: the person who talks the most is rarely the person in control. In fact, it's often the opposite. True leaders of group dynamics don't dominate with noise. They lead with signal, with energy, with timing, with silence. Let's dissect how this works. First, observe any group conversation. There's usually one or two people who speak rapidly, trying to control the flow. They might be loud, constantly contributing, jumping in after every comment. On the surface, it seems like they're leading. But if you watch closely, you'll notice something: the group doesn't truly defer to them. They may nod or laugh, but their attention is scattered. Their energy is loose. Why? Because dominance isn't about frequency. It's about gravity. And gravity comes from stillness. Now contrast that with someone who sits quietly for the first few minutes. They listen. They scan the room. They make eye contact when necessary. They don't fidget. They don't force a moment. But when they do speak, everyone stops. Everyone turns. Why? Because they've built up tension. They've shown restraint. And when they finally add something, it lands with weight. This is the strategy of the invisible anchor, the person whose presence stabilizes the entire group without needing to dominate it. Let me give you a practical breakdown of how to be that person. Step 1. Set the tone with your entrance. Group dynamics begin the moment you arrive. Don't rush in late and flustered. Enter calmly. Breathe. Scan the room. Find a seat that places you in the middle, not at the edges, not hiding. When you sit, do so with intent. Shoulders relaxed, spine tall. No over-smiling. No performance. Just presence. Step 2. Don't speak right away. Let others set the initial energy. This isn't passivity, it's tactical observation. You're watching who's asserting themselves. Who's reactive. Who's insecure. You're reading the room. This gives you a map. And when you finally speak, you'll do so from a place of total awareness. Step 3. Speak with weight, not length. When you contribute, be concise. Cut the fluff. Make your point and pause. The silence afterward makes your words echo. If someone disagrees, you don't need to defend right away. Let the space breathe. People will often come to your defense if your point carried weight. And if they don't, you haven't lost. You've simply kept your power. Step 4. Control your reactions. Most people betray their status by overreacting, laughing too hard, nodding excessively, jumping in with "yeah, totally," to every comment. That's approval seeking. You're not here to seek approval. You're here to observe, anchor, and lead through grounded energy. So when someone says something, nod slowly if needed. Respond only when you have something valuable to add. Your restraint becomes your leverage. Step 5. Use eye contact strategically. You don't need to look at everyone all the time. Instead, direct your gaze toward key players in the room. Make them feel seen. Hold eye contact for a beat longer than most people would dare. That alone can shift status. People feel psychologically pulled toward those who can maintain still, relaxed eye contact. Step 6. Control your body language in the background. Even when you're not speaking, your body is speaking. Are you slouching? Are you checking your phone? Are you tapping your foot under the table? Or are you still, composed, relaxed? In group dynamics, 80% of your influence happens before you say anything. People track your reactions, your breathing, your posture, and decide subconsciously how much power you hold. Here's a scenario: you're in a team meeting. The boss throws out a difficult question. Several people jump in with answers. You stay silent for a few seconds. Then you speak, slowly, clearly, with one concise insight. You pause again. The room tilts toward you. Why? Because in a sea of noise, you were signal. You didn't compete. You controlled. Here's another: a social gathering with friends. Everyone's catching up, talking fast, joking loudly. You're calm. Engaged, but not performing. Someone asks for your opinion on something. You take a beat. Everyone quiets. You respond thoughtfully. They lean in. You become the center, not by chasing it, but by earning it through contrast. That's the key to dominating group dynamics: contrast. When everyone is loud, you become quiet. When everyone is rushing, you slow down. When everyone is trying to impress, you stay composed. That contrast is what people feel. It's what makes you magnetic. It's what makes you trusted. Here's something few people understand: groups don't follow the smartest or the loudest person. They follow the person who seems most in control of themselves. That's who we instinctively trust to lead. The person who's not swayed by emotion. The person who doesn't need the spotlight. The person who waits, watches, and moves with purpose. You can be that person in every room you enter. But don't confuse this with passivity. You're not opting out of the game. You're playing a higher-level game. You're positioning yourself so that when you do speak or act, it matters. You're not available for every impulse. And that, in itself, is power. In the final section, we'll tie everything together: how this way of being becomes a lifestyle, how the world begins to treat you differently at every level, and how those who master presence ultimately master everything. But for now, remember this: in a group, the most powerful person is rarely the one who speaks first, it's the one who speaks last, and doesn't need to prove a thing. Section 10 ***. You've come this far. You understand presence. You've felt the shift. You've learned how to enter a room with weight, how to use silence like a blade, how to sit, breathe, and speak in ways that change how others see you. But now we ask the final question, the one that really matters: what kind of life do you want to live from here on out? Because at the end of the day, all of this, status dynamics, nonverbal power, conversational control, it's not just about social tricks or psychological hacks. It's about identity. It's about choosing the kind of person you want to be every single day. It's about who you are when you wake up, when you walk into a room, when you speak your mind, when you stand in front of the world. And for most people, that identity has never been consciously chosen. It's been shaped, accidentally, by years of insecurity, rejection, failure, people-pleasing, and small, silent acts of self-betrayal. Every time you held your tongue when you had something important to say. Every time you laughed at something you didn't find funny. Every time you rushed to speak just to avoid silence. Every time you tried to impress instead of express. Those moments? They built the identity you carry now. But here's the truth, you don't have to keep carrying it. Everything you've learned in this series has been about reclaiming control. Control over your body, your speech, your presence, your mind. Because once you control the world responds differently. People don't just see you differently, they feel you differently. They start to adjust to your energy. And from that place, everything changes. You start to walk into rooms with quiet certainty. You start to speak in ways that land, not because they are loud, but because they are real. You start to notice that people listen more, interrupt less, defer more, challenge less. You get more respect from strangers. More attention in conversation. More opportunities. And it's not because you asked for any of it. It's because you embodied something that 99% of people never do: self-respect. Because that's what presence really is. It's not a trick. It's not a tactic. It's evidence. It's proof that you've done the internal work. That you trust yourself enough to stay still when others flinch. That you don't need validation to feel valuable. That you don't need the world to crown you because you've already crowned yourself. Think about the best version of yourself. The one who doesn't rush. The one who doesn't explain. The one who doesn't beg for approval. The one who walks with clarity. Who speaks with intention. Who listens deeply. Who doesn't panic in silence. Who waits, breathes, and holds the room without effort. That version of you is not some future fantasy. It's not a dream. It's already inside you. And the only thing separating you from that identity is habit. Every time you pause instead of rush, habit. Every time you hold eye contact, habit. Every time you walk into a room and own your space, habit. Every time you speak slower, move slower, breathe deeper, habit. You're not becoming someone new. You're returning to the version of you that the world always needed, but that you were taught to bury. You see, we live in a world that rewards noise. That tells you to be louder, faster, more entertaining, more available. But the world doesn't respect noise. It consumes it. It discards it. What the world respects is signal, clarity, substance, stillness, presence. That's why the most powerful people in any field, business, art, politics, sports, they're not the ones chasing the spotlight. They're the ones whose presence makes the spotlight follow them. And that's your path now. From this point forward, you don't speak unless it matters. You don't move unless it's deliberate. You don't explain unless it's essential. You don't chase energy, you set it. You don't fear silence, you use it. You don't try to prove yourself anymore, because you've already proven who you are to the only person that matters, you. This shift isn't easy. It's not comfortable. At times, it will feel unnatural because your old self will try to pull you back. It'll whisper asterisk, talk faster. Smile more. Be agreeable. Fit in. Asterisk, but now you know better. You've seen the game. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now everything becomes a choice. Do I shrink or do I rise? Do I rush or do I pause? Do I seek approval or do I own my voice? Do I perform or do I lead? The world is watching. And not in a judgmental way, but in a reactive one. People will always mirror the energy you bring. If you walk in like you're insignificant, they'll treat you that way. But if you walk in with grounded certainty, they'll respond with respect, even if they don't know why. So today, right now, in this moment, choose. Choose to move slower. Choose to pause. Choose to breathe. Choose to see every room as a mirror, reflecting back the power you decide to bring into it. And when you do that, when you truly live this, not as a trick but as a way of being, everything changes. You don't get louder. You get clearer. You don't get more attention. You get earned attention. You don't beg for respect. You command it. This is the beginning of the rest of your life, with presence, with gravity, with quiet power that no one can take from you. So now the question is simple. Will you go back to who you were? Or will you step into who you've always been meant to become? The room is waiting. The world is watching. And your silence is louder than their noise. Master the pause. Master your presence. Master the world. If this series changed how you see yourself, if it helped you reclaim your confidence, your voice, your power, then don't stop here. Subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone who needs it. Leave a comment with your biggest shift. And most of all, remember, those who master themselves master everything.